your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I am Richard Dugan, Reverend Dr. D. We all come with different monikers as we bring you new paradigms for a new world. And it's be interesting to see what kind of a world it would be if a woman by the name of JUDY TENUTA were to, oh, come on, you can Google her, the petite flower, please. I always got a kick and cringe out of watching her being carried out by 2 very masculine and muscular individuals. You're asking yourself, you have JUDY TENUTA on the program? Well, sort of, kind of, in a way. We have Taylor Blackwell, who actually plays JUDY TENUTA in It Happened. And what I find interesting is this phrase.
It can happen.
And now, please welcome the petite flower,
Judy.
Judy.
Miss JUDY TENUTA.
It could happen.
It could happen, and it did happen. I want to welcome you to the program. Taylor, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, how well did you know of JUDY TENUTA before you found out about this role and this manuscript or play, what have you?
Well, I actually wrote the film. And I never got to meet Judy. She passed away a couple years ago now. So I didn't know her personally, but through the process of researching the film, through the writing process, I feel that I've gotten to know her quite a bit, especially through conversations with her friends and family.
Now, do you have that high falsetto, high soprano voice that she
Not naturally, but I do recreate it in the film, and that was definitely a part of the process, was trying to figure out how do I do that voice and also the lower, more raspy voice that she could tap into as well. And that was a little bit more challenging than the higher pitched falsetto.
Well, folks certainly can watch a lot of her videos. I was just scrolling through a few of them not too long ago and laughing again at the things that she would say. The one that I just recalled here, she says, yeah, I was on a plane to Europe, looks around, it could happen. that raspy,
Yes.
throaty thing.
We actually say that line in the film.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
How long has it been out, or when is it going to be released?
It's not out yet. We've been doing the film festival run with the film. So it's called It Happened, the JUDY TENUTA Story. And it's a love letter / mini biopic about Judy. And we just played at the LA Film Festival in Los Angeles, where we won Best Indie Short Film. So that was pretty exciting. And while the film isn't out yet, we'll be waiting till we do some more festivals till we release it online. We do have a trailer out at this point. We also have me performing the Pope song, which was one of Judy's big songs, and some of my me doing Judy's comedy bits. We put out an album of the music of the film. So all that's available now, but it might be a minute till you get to see the full film.
Oh, wow. It's interesting how here in the 21st century, people such as yourself are wanting to, um, I'm not sure what the term is. I mean, we've done it with Elvis, we've done it with, well, of course, Dylan, he's still alive, so it's a biopic, I guess they call them,
Right.
and it seems to be all the rage. But it's picking the right person to do a biopic. How did you come to choose her?
I just was such a huge fan of hers, and I'm an accordion player myself. So selfishly, I was excited about having this really dynamic character to play and to have a character that played accordion, which is not something that I get to incorporate very often in my acting work. And I just thought Judy had such a fantastic story and was such a trailblazer in the world of comedy. And so she seemed to me such a natural candidate and fitting candidate and deserving candidate of a film. And we also did this film in part to memorialize her and to keep her legacy alive. So I feel very honored to play a small role in doing that.
How is it that I have missed you in all of the episodes that I and my wife have watched and absolutely love and laugh like crazy through Resident Alien on Netflix? That and the guy that plays the alien, oh my God, I don't know where you found him, but how who are you on that program? Because I'm not recognizing you.
Uh, well, I look a little different on that show because I have a green wig that I wear, but I play Alan Tudyk. Excuse me, frogs in my throat. I play Alan Tudyk, who plays Harry, his daughter, on the show.
Oh, okay, she's the one who, boy. Well, now in the episode series we're watching now, she has red hair, so it must change.
No, that's someone else.
Is that someone? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I will keep my eyes open for you, Taylor. It's fascinating to watch these. And the one thing I want to ask you in regards to things that you have done, and I also came across Judy's television commercials, which I
Oh,
thought were
yes.
really funny. I happened to see the one for Dr. Pepper. But laughter, humor. Um, it's appropriate at all times. And I know that people, they're kind of charged up because of what's going on in the world today. And for the last 10 or 15 or 20 years, in particular in the 21st century, how important do you feel um, humor is to just our everyday existence?
Oh, I think that it keeps people alive. We have to laugh. We have to be able to laugh at ourselves, laugh at the world. If not, we'd be probably crying. But Judy's, what she did really beautifully was she never really dragged people down with her comedy. And that can be a rare quality to find in a comedian. And sometimes comedy, especially comedy from Judy's era, doesn't necessarily age well because of dragging people down. So I feel really grateful that Judy was a comedian who celebrated life and celebrated the human experiences versus tearing it apart.
Now, you basically for this particular film, and am I correct? I'm using the right term, biopic.
Yeah.
Okay. You wrote, directed, as well as starred in it, and again, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Really, I just because I loved her when I saw her on the Letterman program or Johnny Carson or wherever she was, and I'm sure we can find her stand up on Netflix as well. Where will the film be released in particular?
We don't know yet. That's in part why we're doing these film
Mm.
festivals, is in hopes for potentially some distribution. So it might be a minute before we have that all squared away. But at some point, it will be online in some capacity. I just don't know exactly what that will look like yet.
Tell me about the other people that I'm going to use the word collaborated in this context because when you're on screen or on stage or what have you, you are, as actors, collaborating with one another because you not only have to remember your lines, but you also have to make it look as though you're actually having a real live ad lib conversation. And I have limited acting experience here in Santa Barbara, where fortunately I had very few lines. Most of them were in song, which was great. That helped because for some reason I could remember songs better than I can say the spoken word. But someone you said this I saw not long ago. Even when you are speaking like we are now, you're singing. And I thought, really? And they went on to explain how you're going up and down and you're putting emotion into it and so forth. So, why be embarrassed about singing when you're doing it all the time anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Judy really spoke in a sing-songy kind of way at times, especially with the fluctuations of her voice, going from, like I said, that higher quality to that lower, raspier quality.
Hmm. Taylor Blackwell is my guest here on the program. She is Judy Tenuta in It Happened. Yes, indeed. I would assume she probably did fly to Europe on a plane. So, yeah, not only could it did happen. And we'll talk more about that and Judy and Taylor as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and it's really a pleasure to have Taylor Blackwell. She is portraying Judy Tenuta, the petite flower. And and one of the things that we focus on this program a lot has to do with uh, our soul, our spirit, our spiritual life, if you will. And that was why I asked you earlier about laughter and humor and so forth. When you are, because I'm sure that through all of the things that you have done, the performances you've given, the songs that you say you've also written a song or two, if I'm not mistaken. So you're also a songwriter, correct?
Yes.
And in all of that, there's something about what you do and what you love to do that feeds your soul, right?
Yes, of course. Would not be doing it if it weren't for that, definitely.
Yeah. I've heard it said too that if you're not happy doing it, if you're not having fun doing it, don't stop doing it. Just stop doing it. It's not worth it. It's and I've done a few things in my life, mostly broadcasting and mostly radio. And now here we do these podcasts with the YouTube videos and so forth. And I love it. I mean, I wish that I was working syndicated full time. I mean, for me, that was the thing back when I was growing up in radio was syndication on a whole bunch of radio shows and network across the country. But now we have the internet. Is a lot of your work available either on demand? Obviously, as I mentioned, Resident Alien is one of the programs that we love watching. But how are you expanding people's awareness of you as well as you're sharing with them who you are and where you're coming from?
Yeah, I mean, now most of my work, I'd say, is probably online somewhere, be it the music that you mentioned I do. I used to be in a band called The 10th, and I also have an album out as part of my solo project just under my name, Taylor Blackwell. So that's anywhere you listen to music. And then Resident Alien is on Netflix. I was recently in an Apple TV series called Your Friends and Neighbors, which you can also find online. So it's pretty amazing how all these things are pretty accessible now. And such a big part of the world that I'm growing up in as a performer is social media, and you kind of have to be somewhat of a self promoter. So I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is the musical mushroom. I'm on TikTok and YouTube and all of those things. And there have been times when I don't really enjoy posting on those websites and platforms. But I feel like now that I'm getting older, I'm starting to appreciate more that I have these tools to, like you said, spread my art and to connect with more people. And they really are just that. They're just tools. And I think if you build it, they will come, maybe not at the pace that you're hoping for, but eventually what you put out, you will receive back to you.
Mm. I'm curious as to, as you've shared there, how were you raised philosophically? What were the beliefs that were imparted to you that maybe you still hold to, but also maybe that you've changed? Again, as we get older, we take in all kinds of stuff.
Well, my mom was raised Jewish. My dad grew up Christian and was involved in the Unitarian Church when I was a kid. And I think both of those, my parents, I mean, so much of religion, it's a lot of the same universal truths, which is to love each other and respect all people and be interested in the world and curious about the world. Also, my dad has really traveled a lot,
Hmm.
and I've caught the travel bug myself. And I, something I really appreciate about my dad is his interest in different cultures and ways of living. And that's something that I'm curious about exploring too in my personal life and as a filmmaker and just artist in general.
So I know that you haven't been to a whole bunch of places, but first of all, what would be the one place you would like to visit you haven't yet?
My dream always was to go to Egypt, and I did get to do that. So I think the next dream is to go to Berlin. I know that there's so many artists that live there. So I would, and I have a friend who lives there right now who I really want to go visit. So I'm hoping I can do that soon.
Mm. Um, when we talk about travel, my favorite place that I have been, and I actually, my wife and I want to go would live there permanently, and we have not because of recent stuff, but we have since we went there back in the early 2000s, and that's Ireland.
Oh,
I just want to put down roots there for the rest of my life. I'm 65 and I'm hoping to live to be 100. So I got 35 more years. Come on,
yes.
let me plant my roots there in the green grass of home, so to speak.
Mm,
I would
yeah,
love
I'd
to.
love to go there too. I haven't been there yet, but it looks so beautiful.
How about your interaction with people? Not necessarily those who recognize you, okay? And on the one hand, I kind of want to, I'm so sorry I didn't recognize you from Resident Alien. But at the same time, those people who don't recognize you, but you strike up you have a connection with them and a conversation, and who knows what develops from there. How about those kinds of experiences? How are you? How do you handle those in that regard? Do you like that anonymity in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get recognized often at all, which is quite nice. I think
Mhm.
probably character actors have some of the best of both worlds because you get to do what you love and be a creative, but you also aren't necessarily you can have a really full life where I think sometimes it can be limiting your life if you are super famous and then you can't go to the grocery store or do this or that. Um, so I'm sort of I feel I'd like to continue to grow in my career, which that comes with sometimes more fame and recognition and that stuff. But I feel lucky that when people do come up to me and know who I am, it's a rare and really treasured experience. And I'm not it doesn't happen that often, so I'm not jaded about it or anything yet.
Mm.
um but yeah, I love meeting people just in general. I'm definitely a people person and enjoy connecting with strangers.
Well, I would agree with you. I'm kind of the same way. I love meeting new people, and it's another reason. A matter of fact, I was talking with a gentleman at the radio station some years ago, the station in Santa Barbara, and I said, "Oh man, yeah, we want to get back to Ireland. We want to live there. Blah blah blah. We love the place. We love the country." And he stopped me, and he was from Northern Ireland. He says, "Okay, I already know the answer to to the question I'm about to ask you, but what is it about Ireland you love so much?" And I said, "It's the people."
Mm.
When my wife and I went there the very first time, we were traveling through Dublin, heading for our bed and breakfast down in County Waterford, and somebody was waving us to pull over, and it wasn't a authority figures, it wasn't the Gardaí, and so we pulled over. We didn't think anything of it. And we all get out of the car, and they said, "Are you folks lost?" And we said, "Well, not exactly. Why?" He says, "Well, because you're in this country, that's your turn signal, your blinker, your indicator is still on."
Oh,
And I guess that's how they recognize tourists and people who are lost. But that's one of the things that I love about traveling and meeting new people and having new experiences, and it's just a wonderful thing. We're talking with Taylor Blackwell. She is Judy Tenuta in It Happened, the Judy Tenuta story, as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, along with Taylor Blackwell. Now, you you travel between Los Angeles and New York, among other travels, I'm sure. You have two homes, so to speak, or at least you have two home bases, so to speak.
right. Yeah, I lived in Los Angeles for 8 years, and then about a year ago, I decided I really wanted to live in New York or spend more time there. I've
Mhm.
always thought before the end of my 20s that would be a really amazing experience to get to have roots more in New York. So I moved here and I still go visit LA and spend good amounts of time there as well. But New York is sort of the more permanent base at the moment. But I think friendships and career are always going to take me back to LA as well. And I really love it there too.
When you because again, you write and you direct and obviously you perform and so forth. In those productions that you are only acting in, are you real selective as to the type of character and or presentation, movie, television show, et cetera, that you want to be a part of? Do you have a line that you will not cross in terms of certain things? Because there was this one guy I saw, he was on, the Costner Western in Montana, Yellowstone, thank you, where there
Mm,
was the one character. He was always wearing a black hat. Now he was one of the protagonists who eventually died in the earlier series. But I saw an interview with him, and he said that he refused to do certain scenes, specifically romantic scenes where he was kissing someone else because of his beliefs. And again, I respect that. But are there lines that you will not cross?
I think it really just depends on the material. I think if something's servicing the story and makes sense, then I'm willing. But if there's just gratuitous violence or sexual situations that aren't really adding to the plot, then
Mhm.
that's not something I'm super interested in. So the nice thing is I have a team of people that I work with, agents and managers who they know me and they know what my interests are, and they're good about presenting material to me that is exciting and will also sometimes present me opportunities where they say, "Hey, this might not be something that you want to do, and we can have a conversation about it, and you just let us know." So I appreciate the fact that they're always open to having those conversations before just shutting a door.
Are there any topics, if you will, or genres, if you will, or even individuals that you would like to pursue in your career, like you've done with Judy Tenuta and It Happened?
There's so many. Yeah, I really love artists and the stories of artists. And I mean, for one, it'd be so amazing to get to tell Judy's story in a deeper and fuller way. Our film is 13 minutes. It's a short film, but it'd be really fantastic to get to do a longer form version of this story and explore other comedians that she came up with, like Emo Phillips, who there is emo is in someone plays emo in my short film, but we kind of hint to their relationship, but it'd be fun to explore that more and some of those other really wacky, cool comedians that she came up with in that time. And then also, I really love the artist Keith Haring. I'm such a fan of his. That would be such an honor to get to tell his story someday.
Mhm.
And I love coming of age as a writer. As an actor, I constantly audition for it. I'm 26 years old, but I still play 17 most of the time. And I read a lot of coming of age material, and it's just a genre I personally really love. And I'm also coming of age myself in the world still. So I enjoy writing those types of stories.
Uh, I have, and it's primarily in high school, in our Southwest literature class. We were writing a bunch of short stories. So I still have them, the handwritten pages of those stories, all after all these years. And I've even thought of expanding those either into a book, I mean, I'm not a person who's involved in the visual medium, if you will, other than this. I mean, this is right now as far as it goes. And I'm happy with that. It's one of the reasons I prefer radio and audio recording to the visual because there's so much preparation before you can start recording on the camera. Whereas with
Yes.
the microphone, you flip the switch, set a few levels, and you are off and running. Um, I'm curious, aside from, pardon me, the scripts, any manuscripts as far as books that you are looking at or that you are working on, even though that maybe tell the story of that kind of thing or your story?
Yeah, I've always liked the idea of writing a novel, but in practice, it's a little bit more challenging. Definitely someday. I've written a few things that I thought, oh, this will be a novel or a graphic novel because I do enjoy illustration as well. And then through the process of writing them, I found maybe they would work better or just as well as a screenplay. And
Mhm.
that's a format that I'm just so much more accustomed to. So I've mostly written screenplays at this point, but I have a couple of things that rough drafts of graphic novels that I have over the years kind of typed a little bit here and there on. And I also make a comic that's just a very short little,
Mhm.
uh, almost like a zine style comic, just a few pages. I'm on volume 5 now. And if you ever meet me on the street, I like handing them out to people. And I, at some point, would love to do an expanded version of that.
Is there a particular message in that comic strip, or is it
They
just?
each have their own, every volume has kind of a central theme. The most recent one was about me moving to New York and how New York can be so fast paced, but we can, within ourselves, try to slow down and savor things more and enjoy things and kind of create our own timing. So that was the message of that one. But they each have their own story going on and they're all a little bit biographical. It's called Earth Sign Love.
Hmm. I want to talk a little bit more about your getting into this industry. I mean, and it's huge because every time you add something new, to it, okay, I started out in radio and then I went to the stage and then I went to the television and then I went to the theater, to maybe to New York, to Broadway or that kind of thing. What was it, when and what was it that has intrigued you so that you are doing so much more than a 26-year-old who is an actor or actress? And I'm still befuddled by why they refer, like at the Oscars, and actor Meryl Streep. Oh, I always thought it was actress. But anyway, um, but what was the catalyst for you?
To get into this career.
Hmm.
I I had gotten into modeling from a really young age, like when I was a toddler. And that was something my mom had gotten me into, and it was something I enjoyed. And then there is sort of this natural transition of being a young model to doing commercials and sort of smaller scale acting type of things. And around that same time, I was doing an after school acting program already. So I was interested in those things. And then I just loved being on set, even from like a really young age. And around age 5, I was doing commercials, and that sort of snowballed from there into what I'm doing now. And then I went to performing arts middle school, and that was really amazing because that opened me up to so much other artistic pursuits. And I met a lot of people my age who were interested in music and visual art and communications and dance and all sorts of things. And I just felt, man, I want to kind of do all of this stuff, and find ways for those different creative mediums to intersect. And that's really what I'm still trying to do to this day is how do I find creative projects for myself where I can combine my different interests? And this Judy Tenuta project was really a beautiful example of that because I got to play accordion and sing, I got to act, I got to write, I got to think more about the visual aspects of it when it came to the directing and the editing. So I am definitely seeking out more opportunities like this.
The accordion, when did you learn to play that and why? I mean, what was it about the accordion that drew you to it?
I couldn't really tell you. I've always just loved it from a very young age. I started learning towards the end of my teen years how to play accordion, but I, for a long time before that, whenever I'd see someone playing accordion, be it on the street or in a movie, I just thought it was fantastic, and it's so whimsical looking. I think that's what really got me excited about it was seeing people play it and how it took up so much of their body to be able to play it. You're not just using your fingers to hit keys, but you have to move your arms to move the bellows, and it just seemed really awesome. And it's kind of like in a way exercising a little bit when you
Hmm.
play it too,
Oh
because
yeah.
it does take some actual physical strength to play, especially I play a really big one typically. And it also takes so much concentration. So I find that it's a very meditative instrument where if I'm playing guitar or another instrument, my brain can kind of wander a little bit. But when I'm playing accordion, I have to be really, really connected to what I'm doing. Otherwise, the minute my brain drifts to something else, I mess up. It's
Mm.
pretty cool how it works that way.
You know, Judy Tenuta reminds me uh, more of the comedian Steve Martin and his antics and his craziness, because that's kind of the way she was on stage. And she didn't. The only prop she really had that I can recall was the accordion. And if you want to consider her attire, very flowing and lacy and all of these kinds of things. And I don't know if that was a wig that she wore or she actually had her hair done that way. Doesn't matter. But it's just amazing back in the 70s, 80s in particular, the comedians, many of them, like Steve Martin and Judy, they didn't care. They went for it always. And I'm sure that a lot of these hosts that the programs she appeared on, like Letterman and Larry King and so forth, they had to let go of their ego and so forth, and because they couldn't control her any more than they could control Steve Martin. I mean, I've watched too many of the Carson shows with Martin, and it's like Carson is just kind of, he's like hanging on for dear life, having a good time, because he doesn't know which direct, or Robin Williams for that matter. You just don't know
Yeah.
where they're gonna go. What has your experience been, especially in researching her? Did you find the same thing, or what else did you find out about her that maybe a lot of folks are going to find out about in this film that maybe we didn't know?
Mm. Yeah, I got such a kick out of those interviews she did on different talk shows where she's calling people out from the audience and sitting on their lap and doing all sorts of silly things. I thought that was so much fun and so off the wall and something that I hadn't really seen before. And something that drew me to her was her tenacity and her she was just so alive and so vibrant. As far as what I learned about her through this process, I'm trying to think without giving too much away.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't really explore this too much in the film, but she really, from what I was told by her family, really was a fantastic accordion player. On stage, she's usually kind of doing more of a using the accordion in the same way you would use a drum when you tell a joke, like a but sort of thing. But she could really, really play accordion. I didn't know prior to this project that her and Emo Phillips were married. That was news to me.
Hmm.
And it makes so much sense in my mind. I mean they both I think were very similar, kind of strange and magical. And and I think I mentioned too, we kind of hint to their romance, but we don't get to dive into it too much.
Right. I remember
So
Emo. I do. He was strange too, but in a good way.
yeah, both of
I
them were.
say,
And she really wanted to be an actress. That's kind of what started this whole process for her was she said that she wanted to be like Goldie Hawn. And it was friends that encouraged her to start bringing her accordion to auditions and incorporating that into her creativity because that really set her apart from other people.
hmm. Judy Tenuta, It Happened is the name of the film. It's the Judy Tenuta story. We're talking with the actress who plays Judy in the film that will be released soon. You can see a trailer on YouTube. I'm sure all you have to do is put in "It Happened," Judy Tenuta story, and you'll find it right there. And we will continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan along with Taylor Blackwell and talking about not only It Happened, the Judy Tenuta story, but also Taylor's career, her life and times, if you will. In doing this film, was there ever a time when you thought, you know, might be kind of fun to be a comedian?
Yes, I've never tried it. I at some point want to do an open mic, but I think if anything, it kind of made me think, man, this seems hard. This seems really challenging. I give Judy Tenuta and every comedian so much credit. Judy made it look so easy,
Mhm.
and I can just imagine how difficult it would be. I especially too, as a performer, I'm usually performing things that are very rehearsed and oftentimes I'm performing things that were written by other people so I can put my trust in other people.
Mhm.
But when you're on stage as a comedian, you're all alone up there. So even I know this from being in bands where I've played in bands and you can kind of have comfort in the fact that you're up there with other people performing together. But the times where I've played just myself, a solo show, me and my guitar, that can be really isolating and for me a little more scary and definitely more vulnerable, especially
Mhm.
when you're a comedian and you're drawing from real life experiences. Same with being a singer and you're telling your stories through song and you're sharing them with people, it can be a little frightening to think, oh, this is like my diary being presented out to strangers. But that's just also, we all have, we've all had the same experiences more or less. And it shouldn't really be something to be scared of. But going back to your question, I think it gave me a lot of appreciation for stand up, and it is something that I'd like to try someday.
Well, I look at it from the standpoint I would, and again, I do know that people like Robin Williams and such, as much as he would riff and just improv on the stage. I mean, he was the mind was just going all the time. I also know he did write things. That's where I guess I would draw the line. I would have trouble sitting down and writing to that extent jokes, something that sounded funny to me, because it may not to the audience. And the same kind of thing, whether you're bearing your soul in a song or, in a manner of speaking, bearing your soul in your material as a comedian on the stage. I want to ask you about being with others and uh, speaking the written, rehearsed, memorized lines. And I bring this up only because of my one experience a couple of years ago. And I'm wondering about the emotion. Um, I was the scene basically was World War One. It was that Christmas Eve ceasefire where both sides met in the middle and they exchanged things. They had a soccer game. The bizarre thing for me was they went back to fighting after that. I never have understood that. But I had a scene where I was singing my lines from Christmas in the Trenches. And I was walking up to the German soldier who was carrying the Christmas tree and this and that and the other. And I felt like I was there in the
Mhm.
trenches. And I started to choke up a little and tear up because I'm thinking, why am I fighting this person that I'm going up to give, this flask of whiskey and or cigarettes and shake hands and hug and this and we're going to have this wonderful commune communal time together. Why are we doing this? And that, I mean, it really hit me when you are up when you are doing your thing, if you will, as an actor. Have you ever had that happen? And has it worked to where the director has basically not said to cut? Well, you got to, straighten up and fly right here. We need different. They've let it roll because it worked in that scene.
Definitely. I think that's what draws a lot of people to acting is that moment where you get so lost in it and for a moment you feel maybe in another world and it I think that's the beautiful thing about acting is you have to have so much empathy for other people and connection to the human experience. I've heard so many actors talk about playing villains and how they had to find a way to somehow understand the thought process or connect with them or humanize them and not make them out to be a villain to somehow find a love for them even if they're playing someone who's just absolutely vile, and that's so fascinating to me and something I really haven't experienced yet, so
Mhm.
that'll be interesting at some point. But actually an experience that came to my mind when you were telling your story was I get to work with this actor, Alan Tudyk. He's in my short film. He's in Resident Alien as well. And I think really the first scene we filmed together in Resident Alien was this goodbye scene where I'm hugging him goodbye. And I don't know when I'm going to see him again in the scene. And he's walked me to my bus. So I hug him and then I get on the bus in the scene. And I didn't know Alan really at all. I had known him for a couple hours really at that point in time, but I felt such a connection to him immediately that that goodbye scene was very emotional for me. I felt like I was really hugging my father goodbye. And that's pretty amazing to be able to connect with someone so fast through performance.
I've seen him in other things too. Is he really as wacky as his character in Resident Alien? Just makes us laugh all the time.
Yeah, he's a very funny, smart person. I don't know if he's as wacky as his character. His character is very wacky, but he is definitely a unique individual.
Yeah. In terms of the community that you work with, primarily I'll use the term on stage, whether it's literally a stage, movies or television. Um, you're with them for a long time, and sometimes there are situations, and I know that you folks have experienced this, where you lose one of your cast members. And I don't mean because they say, I don't want to do this anymore. They pass away. And you folks
Mm.
had that experience. We were watching the episode where that particular episode was in memory of, and that has to be hard to then say, okay, we got to pick it up and move on from here, in spite of the fact that this person that we really care about and the character too isn't here anymore.
Yeah, I've never experienced that as far as being on a project and losing someone during the filming of a project. But I have had actors I've really cherished who I've worked with and who've passed away. And often too, when you're a working creative person, you kind of it's hard always to necessarily keep up with people. You bounce from role to role and project to project, but you still have that beautiful shared experience and time together. And I had an actor who I really adored named Alex Rocco, who played my grandfather in a TV show when I was a kid, a show called Magic City, and he had passed away a couple years after that. And it was devastating for me. I really loved this person. So I just feel lucky that through this craft, I get to connect with a lot of amazing people.
Hmm. We are talking with, I'm going to put it this way. We're talking with Judy Tenuta, AKA Taylor Blackwell, and we're talking about It Happened, the Judy Tenuta story here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, Reverend Dr. D, and we're here talking with the gal who is going to not only educate you, but also entertain and hopefully make you laugh in the biopic, if you will, of Judy Tenuta. It Could Happen, the Judy Tenuta story. I am going to be looking forward to when it comes out after you've finished the film festival circuit. Did you make it to? Because I live here in Santa Barbara. Was the film ready to make it to the Santa Barbara Film Festival that you know of?
Oh, I'm on, yeah, I we haven't submitted to that one yet, so we need to add that to our list.
Well, that's not until next February here. I was back in February of this year. I wasn't sure if the film had been completed, and that's got to be a hard one too. I mean, again, because you're in all facets of this film, how difficult was it to, as the term is, leave the elements that you had to on the cutting room floor?
Hmm. Thankfully, we didn't cut out too much from what we shot. And also that was very much because we had a tight budget and a tight schedule that we we really knew more or less what was going to end up in the film. But it would definitely be harder if we shot a whole lot more and then had to whittle it down.
Yeah.
But you definitely get attached to things, and sometimes it's even hard to choose between different takes of the same scene or the same dialogue of wow, I like what I did on the inflection of this word in this take, but I like the overallness of this take better. So those decisions can be tricky, but you just try to do what's going to work best for the overall story.
Are you a perfectionist in that you will spend more time than is really necessary on editing, choosing version A over version B? I've had the problem when we finally got into computers, and I had to say, look, you have to find a place where you have to let it go. How about you?
I definitely have a bit of perfectionism, but I think I feel it was a healthy dosage of perfectionism here, especially this project is so important to me, and to honor Judy's legacy was so important to me that I just wanted to put my best foot forward. And it was helpful that I had a co-editor and also just teammate throughout this whole process, which was my producer, Brent Mata, who also financed the film and was our cinematographer and just a great buddy to have throughout the process and bouncing board. And so we edited the film together, and we were really on the same page with everything as far as the edit goes. So it was nice to have someone keeping me in sort of a checks and balance system throughout that.
And sort of a superficial question about the wardrobe. Did you enjoy wearing all of the different things that she wore?
Of course. That was so much fun and also such a gift as a performer to literally step into the shoes of the person I'm playing. Pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. Well, Taylor, I want to thank you for giving us so much time here on the program to talk about your work, but also specifically about Judy Tenuta. Certainly, we could ask you more questions about her that you found out about, but we're going to save that for people watching the movie when it is released, called It Happened, the Judy Tenuta story. We thank you so much for being with us here on Tell Me Your Story.
Thank you so much for having me and all the thoughtful questions. It could definitely happen. Thank you.
Yes. Well, I have three final questions that I ask all of my guests here on the program. So I'm going to ask those of you. But first, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. And we're streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com. We are also podcasting on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and we're on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. And I hope that you will subscribe and click notification. We also want to let you know that Choices 5 Steps for Life is available. That's my book, available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle, with Audible soon to be released. And we ask that if you can leave us a little tip, we have a tip jar. It's called PayPal. If you can help us out in that regard, we would be gratefully appreciated. Oh, and one more thing on that note. On the homepage of richarddugan.com, there are two links. One takes you to Amazon for the book. The other one takes you to PayPal, and i.e. the tip jar. Finally, we ask that you take some time during this, the decade of perfect vision, to spend some time going within and listening to that still small voice. With all of that being said, we move to our final three questions for a very special guest. First of those three is, who is Taylor Blackwell?
Who am I? I, I am a soul and a body having a human experience. I'm a creative. I am a older sister and a daughter, and I'm I'm a girlfriend to my boyfriend and a friend, hopefully, to lots of people.
Hmm. What gets you up in the morning?
Mm, a love of life and excitement about my creative projects and love for my family and friends.
And finally, what was your best day?
Mm, there have been so many great days. Best day? Maybe when my little sister was born. That was pretty cool. I was 13. That was a really exciting, great day.
Wow. Well, Taylor, once again, thank you so much for the time you've given us here on the program. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love Talal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.